All right, I think we're live. Hey, this is Terence Sullivan, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, Facebook Live. We're gonna talk about beer with Derrick Gallanosa from Moksa Brewing Company, good friend. And really, I literally met you at a beer festival
that you guys put
in
on.
Chico, and yep, and that's how we started talking a little bit about doing a collaboration, and then we had a little thing called COVID that got like right in the middle of the whole thing. So we finally got it done this year, which is great, and it was sure fun. And we're going to talk a little bit about that beer. We're going to get some questions and answers from the crowd out there. So if you have anything as we're rolling through, just submit your questions, and Kevin's going to cue us on when those questions come through. But Derrick, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have a pretty, even I think you're a young guy, but you've been in the industry for quite a while, right?
Yeah, it's my first career. So I got started homebrewing in 2008, and after I graduated college, I had a marketing degree, but didn't really want to use that at the moment. And I was homebrewing, really passionate about it. So just applied all over San Diego, where I grew up, all the way up until 3 years ago, moving up here. But I was in San Diego looking for a job. Of course, there's a bunch of jobs, or a bunch of breweries, putting my resume everywhere. It took me 9 months to get an interview. It wasn't until I did the online course at Siebel that put something like relevant on my resume beyond just like, oh, I know how to produce wort at home. So, that finally got me a couple of interviews, got hired at Carl Strauss, and worked there for the first 4 years of my career. After that, and that's where I learned technical, how to go from a home brewer to a pro brewer. Like, you're not just scrubbing, equipment, you're CIPing, you're replicating a beer over and over again, and just learning very technical brewing. So I'm super grateful for that. 2014 moved on to become a head brewer for the first time at Abnormal Beer Company down in San Diego, and that's where I got to make my recipes. So a bunch of hoppy beers, and I actually got to take the style that I was kind of working with at home, just recreating desserts and turn them into liquid form. And I was able to transfer that over to the professional side and start treating these stouts and beers with additional ingredients, just being influenced by things like McKellar adding in different things. What's another one? Is it McKellar? And am I drawing a blank right now? And other chefs,
Okay.
just kind of, taking the ingredients that they have and just creating these new flavors. So I saw certain styles as blank canvases to add additional layers of flavor to. So took my hop back, which was meant for hops, and started adding ingredients into that and creating these dessert stouts, or pastry stouts as it's known now. So did that. And that's what I think I gained some popularity, being one of the first ones to do that in San Diego, and just kind of carried that wave all the way until now, and just working on technique and flavor dosing and ingredient quality has been a big thing. And in 2017, moved up to Sacramento and started with some partners, Moksa Brewing Company. So here we focus on flavor-focused beers. Right now on the board, it's a lot of your popular stuff. So you got lagers, some heavily fruited, high ABV sours, IPAs of all sorts, and some dessert stouts. So something for hopefully everybody.
Yeah, you guys are in Rocklin, right?
We're in Rocklin, so 25 minutes outside of Sacramento. Not too far away. It's on the way to North Tahoe, or on the way to Auburn if you guys are heading out there off the Highway 80. But yeah, we're just a mile off the freeway. And,
it's a totally cool spot. And like you said, like people going to Tahoe, you should stop there and get some growlers.
Oh yeah,
and
load
growlers
up.
And tell us a little bit about, like, you guys really kind of want to stay small, in a lot of ways, right? I mean, I love your beers, like your selection of beers. You always got some nice light drinking. Yeah, I think the whole time I was there when we were doing our collaboration, I think I drank your was it a Hellas? I think it was Hellas.
Yeah, it was a Hellas. Yeah,
Yeah,
Snappy the lager.
yes, it was awesome. And I think you're talking a little bit about like the pastry stouts, which is actually the beer that you helped us produce here in Chico. And with that, I think I remember you saying that sometimes you'll just kind of get inspired by like tasting your beer in the fermenter and saying, "Oh man, we should add a little bit of, I don't know, roasted coconut or whatever," right? I mean, you do that a lot, right? Just kind of whatever you're feeling like doing, right?
Yeah, well, each beer is kind of conceptualized before we brew it. So we don't have a set base. It is a base recipe, knowing we're going to add certain ingredients. And yeah, there could be some audibles down the road where, oh, maybe it does need a little bit more of a cutting element because the fermentation wasn't as strong. So it ended up being a little bit sweeter, but we still want to add a 1 pound per gallon coconut addition to it. But how are we going to take down that sweetness? By maybe we up the addition of coffee or cacao, or hopefully it has a little bit higher ABV to cut that sweetness. So we start from the very beginning, or knowing what we want the product to be, and then work backwards. So we have, coconut, vanilla; those are sweet kind of elements to it. Cacao, coffee, spices; those are cutting elements. So we kind of have it balance out so that it is drinkable at the very end. And people might want to order a second taster because they're pretty strong ABV, or it's a
Right.
bottle to share, But we don't want one of the ingredients to really overshine the other one. We want to be harmonious along with the base beer. So we play with the residual gravity, the alcohol, and all the other ingredients that go into it to create some type of balanced, drinkable 15% stout. But our whole thing is to have these flavors just kind of meet up here, like at the extremes, but balance out so that we have a balance of intense flavors for our customers.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice about all your beers is drinkability, and I think we kind of share that same thing. Sierra Nevada's always kind of been that way of really kind of a beverage to enjoy over the course of a couple of them, hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so we'll go backwards, right? Back to whenever you and I first met, and I can't remember the beer you were actually serving, but you had a scheduled time you were going to pour it, and I was flabbergasted by the line that formed out in front of your booth, and of course I snuck around the backside, and you
of course
gave me a little taster.
For you,
I had
you
a
can.
schedule, yeah. But you and I were talking a little bit, and I admire your pastry stouts. I think they're amazing. And that was something that, honestly, like Sierra Nevada, we're never really made one. And so I thought, if we're going to actually make one, let's go to the source. And so that's what I hit you up for. And I thought it was really cool because I think, on your side, you guys brewed a West Coast IPA and focused on whole cone, whole leaf hops. And I thought that was really cool. So tell me a little bit about like your thought when you were designing the IPA.
Well, the IPA we want to, just with every collaboration, we make our styles, but we want a heavy influence on our guest brewery. So when our customers taste the collaboration, it's not just a Moksa beer, it's a Moksa beer plus the guest brewery. So with you guys, it's like, what do we got to use? We're going to make an IPA. We want to make something hop forward, and let's challenge ourselves and make a 100% whole cone, whole leaf IPA, which is a challenge for 30 barrels because we don't have, there you go.
Yep.
We don't have like a huge hop torpedo like you guys. We do have a small one that we use for other treatments, but we never really dialed in the process of post fermentation for IPAs, which are like don't really take oxidation well. So we had to be really careful with treating on an external vessel this IPA, this a little bit like lighter style drinking beer versus a heavy stout. So we used that first picture right there was our hop back, which we actually use for every hoppy beer. We do use whole leaf hops for every hoppy beer to on the way into the heat exchanger from the boil kettle. All the beer gets filtered out and transferred through at least 1.1 pounds per barrel of whole leaf hops. And but the trick with our beer was, how do we dry hop? How do we add it on the cold side? How do we add hops? So we did 2 rounds of whole leaf hops in our huge mobile mash tun treatment vessel, and we were recirculating it for a couple days each turn, just monitoring this submersion of the hops and making sure we're getting that flavor back into the beer. It was a little tricky, but I think we pulled it off, and to this day, I think it's like top 3 highest rated West Coast IPAs that we've done. But everyone loved it. It sold out super quick to the point where usually I'm able to walk into the cooler and take some home a week or so later, and it was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that beer. You sent me a couple cases, maybe 3 cases of it, and I pretty much hoarded it all to myself, most of it. So just
yeah,
so you know.
and then people were asking about, make it a double version. I was like, oh man, that means we have to do 3-4 turns on our treatment vessel to get that quantity of hops back into that particular style. So I don't know if we could move up to that, but we definitely want to try it again and rebrew it, and hopefully you guys could come down and hang out again.
Walking with Giants is what that one is called.
Walking with Giants, killer label done by our artist Connor Hunter, and really captured that Sierra Nevada vibe. Not only the color, but just kind of what you guys stand for as far as appreciating the outdoors and having a beer in it.
We liked it so much we stole some of his art.
Yeah, that's right. He's pretty flattered.
No, that's awesome. That was in my eyes, we've done collaborations on a big scale, and I know you do collaborations like all the time. Like you had one today, right?
Today
you do like almost every week, right?
I know it seems like that because we also have one tomorrow with Revision, but no, we usually try to schedule about one a month, but they're with friends, just like how a lot of people collaborate. It's not necessarily, you have a good brand, let's brew together. It's hey, we've been buddies for a while, we like what each other are doing, and the beer is secondary, and it's more of the friendship first, and we get to hang out and kind of put our creative minds together and make something really cool for not only us but our customers and our fan base and everybody else who wants to join in. So it starts as a friendship and then kind of blossoms into a business thing.
Yeah, I think it's in a lot of ways, I'm sure some of the people that are listening out there kind of realize it, but the craft beer industry is like no other, of kind of the sharing of information and the camaraderie that builds over time, and it really is collaborations have always been something that we really enjoy, and it's awesome because I got to go down there, hang out with you guys, learn some stuff. You guys got to come up here and brew, and that goes a long ways in your future, in the beers that you produce. We want to make a blueberry beer like you did last time. Which one was that? That was the
1 million blueberries.
Yes.
1 million blueberries.
Yes.
So I mean, we didn't count each blueberry, but assuming the size that we imagine a blueberry is and the volume of puree that we got, we're assuming it was about 1 million blueberries that we put into the beer. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, I love that. I think you use adjuncts the way, and I'm referring to fruits and those kind of things. The way that I remember. I think the day I was there, you got a big drum and it was frozen, wasn't it? Orange juice or something.
Yeah. We made a mimosa beer, or Moksa Mosa is what we called it, but it was we had a Sauvignon Blanc juice and organic, not from concentrate, orange juice, which you get those Minute Maid little packs that you like put in your freezer and you mix it with water. Well, we basically had a drum size version of that that was frozen as well. And it took way longer than we expected to defrost. I think it was about like 6 days or so. And we're like, hey, we got like time's coming up. We got to use this stuff. And,
Right.
leaving it outside before we opened and then putting it back in, just kind of expediting the process.
So some people might be out there and they're maybe they don't follow Moxa. What is the best way? Because you guys do releases like on Saturdays, right? Almost like weekly or every
Almost
couple of
weekly.
weeks.
We're coming
Yeah.
out with 2 to 5 beers every week right now. So that also means we have to, or max out on the taps at our tap house. So we have to run through 2 to 5 beers a week as well to free up those lines. But we are, we're super innovative. We have no core beers, but we do have core styles. So you'll always usually see a West Coast IPA, double IPA, a bunch of stouts, a couple sours, and a couple lighter beers. Right now we have 2 lagers and 2 Kolsch on tap. So something for everybody, especially for these hotter months. We tend to do less of the stouts and more of the lighter beers. But yeah, 2 to 5 new beers a week. And we do releases only at our tap room. We like the experience. And when you're talking about what makes certain people like what we pride ourselves on is the tap room experience. We want people to visit us and talk to our knowledgeable beer staff and try the variety of beers the way we want to serve it in our class. Like this is our glass right here that we serve at the tap room. I poured this a while ago, but hopefully you can see. Oh no, there's bubbles constantly flowing is because we nucleate the glass with our logo on the bottom. So what that does is it creates an uneven surface and gathers a CO2 into a bubble, brings the aromatics to the surface, and it also increases head retention. So that's just part of our taproom experience is getting your beer served in this glass, served by our people with the best explanations. So that's I think what makes us a little bit different.
So you don't distribute, right? Or you do?
We do a little bit here and there. We sell over 90% in the tap room, and then we have a select amount of high quality accounts that we feel could best represent our beer throughout the state of California. So we usually pick out certain accounts in every area around the state and just kind of sprinkle our beer around as advertisements for our tap room so that people could come try that one beer, come back to us, and then you have 20 beers to select from.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Do you guys have a release this week? Did you say you had one on Saturday?
Yeah, we just canned it. So this is actually it right here. So this is Sticky Sips.
Nice.
This is a rebrew. It's been pretty much our if we had a flagship double IPA, West Coast double IPA. But this one in California, we have it's not GABF, but it's our version of GABF. It's the California Brewers Cup or California Craft Brewers Cup. So this took gold in the last one. And then we also have a regional one, the Bistro, which you guys took gold for Hazy Single. So that one took gold for West Coast Double. So it's been on a roll, and
Nice.
we brewed it right now. This is our GABF batch that we're going to send to Denver through you guys, actually. So thanks for carrying that up. Yeah, and so that beer is getting released as well as.
You shouldn't have told me that because I might hijack it and it won't make it to the ABF. It'll be in my fridge.
We'll get up to the final table and there won't be a beer for it.
Yeah, right.
Terence, fingers crossed.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you.
So we have that, and then we also have a Kolsch with lemon thyme. So this was a homebrew recipe from our other brewer, Corey, and it is a Kolsch style ale that we treat with a variety of thyme. So it's not the savory thyme that we all know. It's a variety of thyme called lemon thyme. So it has more of a citrus and a bright herbal characteristic that lends a lot of great flavors to a lighter style. Nice. So we have those 2 coming out. So it doesn't have to be heavy hitting with vanilla and coconut and all that and hops. I mean, we could get pretty subtle and just do a slight like herbal addition just to make something interesting that you otherwise wouldn't have somewhere else.
That sounds killer. Sounds killer.
Yeah.
So when you were when we started kind of talking about like what we wanted to make, which was a
Mhm.
pastry stout, and learn a little bit from you and your techniques. What did you glean from that? Like when you were working with Isaiah and kind of coming up, because like and I think what kind of blew our minds was like your opening gravity. So those people
Yeah.
that don't know what that is, it's the amount of sugar or fermentable and non-fermentable sugar that starts in your wort before you add the yeast. I mean, some of those pastry stouts are literally it's a higher ending gravity than what we start with when we're making pale ale, and it was like kind of shocking, I think, for us to kind of whoa. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that. Like when you were first making those beers, what struggles did you have?
Well, when they talk about balancing characteristics, alcohol plays an important role in cutting through that sweetness and those sweeter ingredients. So, in order to have that sweet finishing gravity and the alcohol, you have to start really high. So we have a starting gravity about 32 Plato or so for the fresh stouts, or I didn't even work with that high, and as a home brewer was 11 something,
Right.
1128. So it's pretty high. And so we start high and we finish high. So we have so after it's done fermenting, we have the sugar, we have the alcohol, and we kind of go from there to add the other ingredients. And also, when you talk about high gravities, we even go even higher starting gravity when we do the barrel aging um, beers. Those are finishing from 18 to 20 Plato because over the course of 20 months, we want to leave it in there for an extended aging. So 20 months, 24 months or so. So it really picks up that characteristic. But if you put a thinner beer in there, the barrel could overtake it to where the oak, it'll just be too oaky and kind of thin, and you won't get that bourbon characteristic. So you have to have some like strength of sweetness to fade away over time, so that after the course of 20 months, it balances out to where it's like slightly sweet, but it has all this barrel characteristic from being in the barrel for so long. So yeah, we like playing with our stouts. We like playing with high gravity because, but we have a game plan for it. It's not just being sweet for being sweet. It has some reason behind it.
Right. Yeah. And when you guys were choosing ingredients, I think, one of the things we like to play with our stouts, especially being in Butte County, which is one of the largest producers of almonds, or almonds, as we say it up here. You guys chose vanilla beans and almonds. So I think, and you like playing with,
It's not
vanilla,
just I mean, all the stouts start with vanilla, and it's not just vanilla. It is what kind of vanilla. So we're getting into the point where we have certain vanilla, certain cacao, different varietals for what we want the beer to taste like. Um, so different origins of vanilla will produce marshmallow, cookies and cream, a little bit of earthiness to it, and it's all depending on like what we want. And then almonds, I think at that time we had an almond beer, and I was like, yeah, I just like roasted 200 pounds of almonds at my house. Like, I know you guys could have a better process of doing that, but maybe we could do something with that flavor, because it has that like rich nougat candy bar type flavor that really works well with all the other, the roasts, the chocolate, the coffee flavors coming from a base stout. And I think, yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I mean, we're gonna try it in a bit, right?
Yeah,
I'm eager.
Absolutely. It's literally in the tank. We're gonna filter it. I think it gets filtered tomorrow, and we're gonna package it next Wednesday, and the following Friday, on August 6th, it'll be available in our gift shops and also to direct to consumer. So if you visit, I'll have it at your place ahead of time.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll get
Thank you.
Yeah. And so anyways, at I think 11 o'clock on the 6th of August, you can go online and order it if you're outside of the Chico area, direct to consumer. And then if you're here, obviously come down to to the gift shop or in Mills River. Hopefully it'll be there in time. We got to ship beer all the way across the country, so that sometimes takes a little bit of time. It should be there by the 6th, so we're hoping for. So, but you want to try it now? Should we try it now? I mean,
let's do it. All right, I'm gonna go grab it.
I gotta finish my pale ale here. I got it in the sensory only flask. See, that's I have it in a concentrated flask. He's on mute. You're on mute, Derek.
Oh,
there you go.
All right, I'm off. All right. No, I like the packaging.
Oh yeah. I picked that for you. So this is your first taste of it, right?
It is.
Unless you opened one earlier today.
No. Just went back to the brewery, grabbed this, transferred a keg, and came back home.
Yeah, don't show that bottle, or if our legal team's watching.
Oh yeah,
get mad at me for sending something without a label on it. Oops.
Yep, there's the almond.
Yep.
And it rounds out the flavor. It kind of takes off like that roast. Like you still get the roast, but it's like a more savory roast characteristic when you add something like almonds or nuts in general.
Do you what is generally speaking? Because I know you've made beers with walnuts and peanuts and almonds. Is there any particular?
It's almonds. Almonds are the best nuts in our opinion, followed by peanuts. And we played around with different like forms of peanut because it's so readily available. You got the powder, you got like or different forms of powder. We actually got some roasted powder before, but really just whole or have roasted peanut hulls that we just dump in and recirculate. It works the best in our opinion. For us, we don't use any extract as well. It's just all whole ingredients. So kind of have to work with what we can get at a reasonable price. I think peanuts and almonds are going to be the best nuts. And then my least favorite to work with was macadamia. Just the price of it and what you got out of it. It was like a vague nuttiness, but it wasn't like macadamia nut. I think that's right. The enjoyment of that is actually eating the nut, and they have that texture and that flavor there. But they're just so subtle. In addition to like, adding vanilla, and I think that blackberry. I think we added it to as well.
That's awesome. Like I'm the way you describe it, like because I'm thinking about it. Like I love macadamia nuts, but that is one of the pleasures of it is the actual texture of it, and like literally that chewing on a macadamia nut. So I'll bring this up because you probably don't know this side of me, but the Chico beer enthusiasts, I know some of them probably listening in right now. So they tease me because years ago I made some comment about I couldn't drink beers that had peanuts in them and it was probably because I got a couple of them that almost like the peanut had gone a little rancid. And it reminded me of my youth. Whenever I was a kid, my dad ate planter peanuts like crazy. And there was literally containers all around the house of Planters peanuts, and every once in a while you're like, oh, Planters peanuts, and you grab them and you go to eat them, and they'd been there for like probably 6 months, and so the peanuts had all gone bad. So I had a couple of experiences early on with beers that had peanuts in them that were
it just brought you back to that memory.
Not a pleasant memory.
Yeah.
But I've warmed up to them now. That's what I like to say.
Good. Yeah. No, we love using nuts. It's labor intensive for us because we roast them mainly ourselves. And we do have a great supplier of almonds here, Blue Diamond. I mean, they're that collection of farms, and just place a specialty order and pick it up in the gift shop. Right. So that's kind of the luxury of living in Sacramento, is we have access to fresh almonds.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. We have we've worked with a local local company here, Maisie Jane's Almonds, and like our Baltic Joy. She's always supplied the almonds for that. That was a beer camp beer years ago. We make it every year. Pretty cool. So I I just like it just adds kind of a heartiness to the back end of beers. And actually that's Baltic Joy. We're going to enter that in GABF. So hopefully we'll see a
Is that
reward.
the coconut and almond
It's
one?
coconut and almonds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really, it's it's a great beer. It's a true Baltic porter that we make, lager yeast. So it's got a little time and attention to it. So what speaking of that, like speaking of styles of beer, Derek, what do you go to? Like, what is your go-to beer?
Well, there's like two sides. There's like the ones I drink to be inspired, and then the ones that I just enjoy. So the ones that I drink to be inspired are IPAs of all sorts, and then this style, like the stouts. Just seeing how people can take these base beers and apply these other ingredients, and the application of it is kind of what intrigues me. So if I taste it and something really pops out just immediately through my head, it's like, how did they get these flavors? And that goes with IPAs as well. Like, how did they get this hop flavor, this particular aroma, or the amount of aroma, is intriguing. So I like that, and that's inspiring. But casually, I do like drinking West Coast IPAs and lambics.
Nice.
Those are just the ones I feel like are easier drinking, very complex, and usually has a story behind it. So that's usually my go-to. I know a lot of people like, lagers and macro beers. I know a lot of brewers enjoy those, and I do as well. But if I'm gonna have my selection, those are two styles I'm gonna go. It's the easy drinking West Coast IPA and just the unfruited lambic.
Yeah. So you were talking earlier too about like pastry stouts, and I think you said something a little bit along the lines of like desserts that inspire you to make certain beers. Have you ever like sat back and like had like a killer dessert and you went, all right, I want to make a beer that's like that? And what was it?
Yeah. So a lot of inspiration comes from all over, and of course, like the culinary world is a big inspiration. Not only like the technique and processes of creating the dishes, but just flavor combos in general. So I'd say, I don't know, I feel like I want to use graham cracker more. I mean that whenever you have a cake and it just has that graham cracker crust, you kind of look forward to that. So having that element in a beer would be pretty awesome. So Corey and I were just talking about how we need to use graham cracker again as a that cinnamon sugar type of flavor. I think is a nice addition. But lately it's been about with coffee, cacao, and vanilla, just seeing the nuances of the different origins and working on that level to where it's not just vanilla, it's not just cacao or coffee. It's how do we determine which origin to use and in what combination with what other origins has been our latest challenge. So we're going beyond just ingredients, and we're going to the source. We're going to how it was processed and how we can apply it to our beer. So having that kind of culinary mindset and thinking about the ingredients that we're purchasing and the sources that it comes from, we're being mindful of that and trying to create the best product we can by going that detailed into our ingredients.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys I think you came out with a beer just recently that was with a local roaster, maybe. Did I see that right?
Oh, with the cacao?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know. It was coffee or cacao. I don't know which one.
So I'll explain both. So with her cacao, it's a crew chocolate. I think that's what we were talking about, how it is local to Sacramento, and it's the best chocolate I ever tasted. It's and also the cacao nibs are roasted fresh that morning when they're brought over to us. But initially, when we heard about them, we requested samples, and we had all these different origins, and each one was not drastically different, but it was noticeable. This one had more caramel. This one had more bitter chocolate taste. This one had more earthiness. This one was like a little bit sweeter, like milk chocolate. So we took notes, and now we have it as reference. So whenever we want, say for example, we have a beer that finishes a little bit sweeter, we can go with the one that's more bitter chocolate than the one that has caramel. And same thing for coffee. It is, so the cacao was from Crew Chocolate in Roseville, and then the coffee that I work with is actually one of my best friends, and he and some partners created Mostra Coffee down in San Diego, and they're actually in a lot of beers around the world, because me and him, we're big beer fans, and I went the brewing route and he went the coffee route, and he roasts specifically and works with the breweries to create a bean from an origin with your goals in mind. Like, what else are being added to it? Well, I recommend, this blend or this origin because we're getting like these particular flavors from it. So that's Mostra Coffee, and actually we're partnering with them. When we open up our new tap room in Roseville, we're going to have our tap room. We're going to have a restaurant that serves breakfast through dinner, and we're going to have a coffee bar that is, and we're going to be pouring exclusively Mostra coffee. So it'll be one of the few locations outside of their San Diego base that is going to pour their beer or their coffee exclusively.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's
so we're
awesome.
we're getting the same equipment, and we're going to have training from them to really try to represent them up north.
Right. That's partnership right there. That's collaboration.
Yeah. It's working with other crafts that take that attention to detail into their art as the same as the approach that we do as well. Yeah. Because we're very mindful of what the ingredients, and I always talk about these like post fermentation ingredients, like we do pay a lot of attention to grain and hops and all that, but what makes it interesting is having this different element of this these different wave of other ingredients that we could apply to those beer styles. So we're just geeking out. We're just loving this variety that's available to us and putting in the work to understand what is best for what we want to achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Great. I think it's are we getting close to maybe we can field a few questions? You got some? If anybody has questions out there, feel free for myself or for Derrick. I'm just checking my time here. Make sure we're not going to run over. So what do we got? Dale says, so what contacted, so who contacted who for this collaboration? The story behind it was literally at the it was our Fresh Hop Festival that we had. I came over to your booth, kind of introduced myself. I knew we wanted to create a dessert pastry stout that has always been on my list. And I got to do a shout out to my wife out there because she's the one that really got me into them. She loves dessert pastry stouts. So I always have a few in the fridge so that she can try them. I still have a couple of yours, by the way. And and so anyways, that kind of that inspiration for us to actually make one. And I've been talking to our brewers here. I thought, let's go to someone I think that does some of the best I've ever tried. So that's whenever I introduced myself to you, and then we started chatting, and I think some business cards got flipped, and pretty soon we were texting each other, and we were actually planning on doing this like same time last year. And then COVID hit, and it was kind of travel and all that kind of stuff. So that put a wrench in it, and then we tackled it this year. So I'm glad we did.
Yeah, and I want to explain, like, I'm not gonna like end this interview without saying how excited we were. I mean, imagine, a small 1,000-barrel-a-year brewery getting approached by you in Sierra Nevada saying, "Hey, we want to make a beer with you." and and then us being like, well, yeah, we'll make a stout, but you got to come over to our place and make a beer as
Yeah.
well, and we're gonna make a something inspired by you guys. So
Well, I think that is one thing that's kind of changed over the years, which I think is really cool. Is this kind of like it's like a joint collaboration, right? It used to, at least back in the days when we were always doing collaborations, it was kind of one sided. Like, oh, okay, you come here and we'll make a beer, and I love the fact that that all these and you generally speaking, don't most of your collaborations are double, like the other brewery does something with you and then vice versa, right?
we try to. I mean, it depends on the location, if it's the accessibility. So if they're somewhat local, I mean that's no issue. But what's actually funny is the local collabs kind of get put off more because we see each other so often. We just chat, and we're like, we got to nail down a date to make a beer because we got to stop hanging out and just like knock this out.
Right.
Whereas others, it's like, hey, I'm going into your city at this particular date. Like let's set something up because I'm only there at that time. So actually the local ones kind of get put off a little bit more, but the ones where we travel out, we do events, it's kind of centered around like invitationals and or just talking throughout time and realizing, you know what, we got to make this. We got to come out and we got to make a beer. So I've been and one of those was we have a great relationship with Jay Wakefield over in Miami. We've made about 30 different beers as collaborations together. And it was one of those where we tried each other's beer. It's like, yeah, whenever we go out to, Miami, that's all the way across the country, whenever I get out there, but then made it happen within a year and then been going out there every year and making that collaboration over and over again. So it's really just about setting a date and just sticking to it, and that's how the collaborations get made, is really just like being persistent about really getting together, hanging out, creating something together, and having a good time.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, you guys are pumping out 2 to 5 beers a week. It's not like you're already not busy, right? You're
it's not like we're looking for like to create new beers. It's like you got to space things out. It's like, all right, I got this particular like one day that I can do something. Hold on 1 second. Right. Like phone went off and it like went onto my. I don't know if you guys heard that. Did you?
I think no, we didn't hear it, but
okay, it was a ringtone that was like blaring in my ear.
It's probably the brewery calling you.
Yeah.
Hey, Derrick, we need your help down here. Yeah. No, you guys have like a really like, you were saying you guys do 1,000 barrels. You guys are like tight knit, right? I mean, how many employees do you guys have?
We have 3 production employees, 2 brewers and 1 cellarman. Me and Corey, we split the brew time, and then we got John, who's a cellarman, and we've been making it. Right now, we're up to last year we produced 1,370 barrels, and then this year we're on pace with the addition of a couple more tanks to produce over 1,600. So we're still very, very small. Like, how much do you guys produce?
That in a day.
yeah, exactly.
Less than a day. About that, the first 2 shifts we're making that much beer. So
yeah, exactly.
Quite a bit. So
so we've been brewing as much as we can for our given space. We fit in 2 extra tanks, but we also added a centrifuge and just trying to produce as much beer as possible. And we've been doing that ever since we started in 2018. But yeah, it's a very tight schedule, making sure that we turn over those tanks as fast as possible. So no tanks empty for more than, a couple days because we're filling it back up and getting the next one started.
Right.
But it's super tight knit.
Yeah. You have to though, right? I mean, otherwise you're going to have a bunch of empty tap handles, in the pub if you're not on it. Right. So
exactly, it's our demand. We want to, and also it's just we're excited to brew new beers. Like I said, we don't have any core beers, but we have new core style. We have core styles, so we want to create like a beer that's better than the last one always, right. And we can't wait to do the next one for that tiniest little thing that we think we can improve on. We can't wait to produce that, and that's what drives us.
Yeah. That's what I kind of got out of my visit with you guys. You know, you guys are very, as we are, very focused on quality and just making sure your beers are top notch, and you know the consumer's having the best experience. Or the sorry, I said consumer. That's terrible. The beer drinker is having a great
Yeah.
experience. And so is your pub open now? Because I know when I was there, it was kind of, we still were under some restrictions, and you guys had the outside patio and that kind of stuff going on. Are you guys open indoors now? Is people coming
Yeah,
in?
we're open indoors. I think when you were there, we're spaced out inside, but now
Yeah.
we pull the chairs a little bit closer, and we are fully open. And with these new loosening of the laws, we're able to expand our license so we can have that patio. And that
Cool.
patio allowed us to have at least three times as more seats as we did with just having inside. So it allowed us to add a couple more tanks. And with those new tanks comes empty kegs, ingredients, and
Right.
all that to take up even more space. But it expanded our seating by three times. And that really helped us create that taproom experience to even more people. So there's not a lot of the lines aren't as long, or waiting for a table. We don't have a host anymore. So, and we're able to put that person that was at the host behind the bar, giving that experience to people coming in. Um, so yeah, we're fully open 7 days a week, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
busy, but we welcome everybody. We can't wait
Yeah.
to serve you.
And,
Yeah.
and I gotta say, if you're out there and you haven't visited your brewery, that get over there, because you guys do a great job. Your beers are top notch, awesome. I think we maybe have a couple more questions, Kevin. What will the availability look like? Normal distribution. So this is in regards, because you guys sold out of your beer. Our beer will be we'll have a little bit of draft, and so that'll be on tap in our Chico tap house. We're planning on about 300 cases of beer. So that's it's going to be in a 375 bottle. And there will be limits on how much you can actually purchase. I think it's 6. We're doing it in packs of 3 or 6, direct to consumer. And if you come to the brewery, 1 to 6 bottles you can purchase. So that's about right. That's what you guys do, don't you? Normally, your releases about 300 cases, 200,
Uh,
300 cases.
oh, case. It's like 600 bottles or so.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and we limit and then sometimes we even do as small as 1 oak barrel, and those go pretty quick. I mean, well, they sell out at the time of opening, but we're able at our size to have fun with that, to do just 1 oak barrel, because that one just kind of singled itself out. We call it the Singularity series, and usually it's a barrel given to us by a liquor store or restaurant where they bought the whole barrels worth of whiskey, bought the bottles, and they're holding a case for a year, so that when the beer is ready in that barrel, we get to try the whiskey and the beer together. So we like having like fun projects
Yeah.
like that, but we're able to do that at our size, to have these super small batches that are very focused on the intent of the liquid coming out.
Nice. Cool. And I think there was a question about ingredients. What's the ingredient you had the most fun experimenting with in a beer? I'll let you go first.
Oh, recently it was for a sour. It was ginger. Was pretty fun to work with. We actually, and like I was saying, we don't use any extracts or anything. So I bought a few boxes of actual ginger and used that spoon technique to skim off all the skin, and then sliced it up and ran it through a beer, and then we're able to sample it until it hit its perfect spiciness. And that was a beer that we simulated a Moksa mule, or we called it Moksa mule, but a Moscow mule, using real ingredients. So we had real lime and real ginger in the beer. So that was fun to play with, and really just furthering the exploration of coffee, cacao, vanilla, and the different origins and what works best and what combinations. So that's really been like the years long challenge has been exploring those particular ingredients. But yeah, having fun with some of the newer stuff like ginger or different types of cinnamon. We recently had like supposedly the cinnamon that Cinnabon uses at the malls, and when we toast that up, it just kind of lights up the room. And we're excited to try that. But unfortunately, not a lot of people like cinnamon in their stouts apparently. So we haven't done that in a while.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll so while you were talking, I remembered a story. We did a beer years ago. I can't even remember the name of it, and I think it was draft only. And it was when we were launching the Ovalus series of beers with the local monastery up the road, and we had a beer dinner, and we invited. It was like Adam Avery, Rob Todd. Vinny Chilurzo was here.
So all the legends.
It was literally all the legends. Tommy Arthur was here, and everybody had to bring an ingredient to put in, and we were going to make a beer like while they were here. And I'll just tell you this: it didn't come out good. But somehow I think it was Tommy Arthur and Rob Todd had without telling us. They brought driftwood from both coasts. So right. Rob Todd on out of the Atlantic brought some driftwood, and so they put the driftwood into the kettles. So I thought that's maybe the most interesting ingredient.
Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, right. But I've personally, coffee beers are great, and when they're done right. In my opinion, I love, and that same thing you talk about is like different origins of the coffee and that kind of stuff is really, really fun in my opinion. So, and I would say too is there's nothing better than when you really nail a beer with coconut and like freshly roasted coconut and just the whole experience of roasting it yourself or toasting it. And then adding it, it's pretty awesome.
And I can't not say this, but hops. I think we both relate to that. Yeah. There's an endless exploration on the quality and utilization of hops and the different origins and varieties that are coming out. We recently got invited to hop selection just a couple years ago. I mean, we were pretty small, so we can't just hey, we're going to go hop selection. That's a normal thing. Like for us, we had to be invited. And for us to experience that and the difference between selecting your own hops and just buying what's, just any Mosaic or any, Cascade or Citra, having the ability to select each variety has been a complete game changer. And that's been one of the biggest bumps in quality for us. Because we mostly produce IPAs. I mean, that's the one, we have fun making the stouts, but we mostly produce IPAs. And this year we're going to go and select our own lot. So versus a group selection, we're going to be able to not argue. We don't really argue, but just not have the, conversation with other breweries of we should select this. It's, it's Corey and I just going together, and it's only us two that get to select our hops. So that has been, a pretty big, exciting thing for us is being able to go to Yakima in Oregon and select the ingredients that we get to use for the next year on the majority of our beers. Right. So it's been great. It's been great experiencing that.
And that is, as brewers, that whole, you can get Cascades from Yakima, and you can get, Cascades from Oregon, and they're totally different, and literally from different farms within Yakima. It's really,
or New Zealand too. They started growing that down in New Zealand. It's completely different.
And in a lot of those aspects, it's in a lot of ways it's similar. I worked a little bit in the wine industry. It's very similar to that. It's definitely you get a different And that was one thing. That was one of my great learning experiences when I went to one of our first hop selections, of like the idea of like, when we're, we obviously use a lot of Cascade for pale
and
ale.
We made sure to use it in our
right.
Walking with Giants.
Yes. And so I didn't say the name of our beer, did I? Walking with Darkness. All right.
Yeah.
That's the name of our beer. I think Kevin maybe
it's a pretty dark name.
Yeah. Well, it's a dark beer.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I remember like that first hop selection that I went to, of like this idea of like, we had to go, we're going to different suppliers and we're buying our Cascades, and literally you have this mindset of like, I need to make sure all these Cascades are very similar, because we're going to use them throughout the year and we're going to blend them in, and we want the consistency. I think all, as brewers, at least my personal opinion is that consistency is it's not an easy thing to do, but it's really important to our brands and our beer.
And that shows like the difference with our volumes, because you had to select multiple Cascades because you buy multiple lots. Whereas us, we just have to select one because we're just buying we're just buying one little parcel, on the hop yards, where you guys are buying certain percentage of the farms.
Well, that always ends up happening when you go with Ken Grossman on a hop selection. He'll find a certain lot and he'll just be, oh, killer, hold that one to the side. We're buying that entire lot and we're going to make something special in the end.
And then we got 4 more lots to buy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, yeah. All right. How many of your beers started as homebrew recipes? I think this is directly to you. Ranger Wrath is asking, have you considered releasing those for local brewers to try and make them themselves?
So both the other brewer, Corey, and I, we both start as home brewers, and I think that summertime, the one with the lemon time, that actually started as Corey's homebrew. So that's available this Saturday. But as far as mine, it wasn't necessarily like I barely like saved my recipes. It was more of like an evolution of working within a style, or working with certain ingredients, and how can I make a better beer than the previous batch. So it wasn't necessarily that I had like recipes that we're making right now, but it's more of the learning aspect of being a home brewer, and being experimental. So that's why I use that. I wasn't using it to like make the perfect beer. I was using it to like try out new ingredients, new techniques. Right. And I think that's what paved the way to where I'm at right now, as far as knowing what ingredients work and do not work, and what techniques work and do not work. Our first year, we did do something, because we do come from homebrewer backgrounds, and we have a lot of respect for people starting the hobby up. I mean, because that's where Sierra Nevada started, right? And then that's how we started. So
that was a homebrew.
Yeah. So on our first year, and we got to start this up again when we got to find time to do it, but giving back knowledge to the homebrew community. And of course, that's what I like doing, like things like this, or I teach at UC Davis and try to just kind of put out as much information from my experiences down to the people that want to follow that same career path or want to get into the industry, is kind of giving back. And what we did that at our tap room was we had a homebrewer night. So we invited homebrewers in. We talked about our processes, but related it more towards brewing at home. So we scaled down our recipes to 5-gallon brews, and we passed that out. We gave a little tour of our brewery, and it's like, hey, this like cooler that you have with the washer dryer, like threaded braided hose that like you have on your mash tun. Well, that's this mash tun right here that has a false bottom and all that. Right. And then this is instead of your carboy, this is like the conical fermenters, and kind of talking like that, so they kind of understand. Because when I was transitioning from a home brewer to a professional brewer, I had to do that in my hand. I was like, wait, CIP, like acid or like caustic. Oh, that's like, the OxyClean that I was
Right,
using at
right,
home,
right,
or the PBW. Okay. So I had to have like relatable terms. And so
right,
that's what we did that one night. That was what the homebrewers night. We gave them a recipe and how they could recreate that beer at home, but then also running through what their equipment looks like on a professional scale, and then answering a like question and answer, or like doing a Q&A at the end. So we got to get back to doing that. We've been talking about it,
yep,
as well as doing like a kind of like a home brewer garage sale or like swap meet kind of thing. So just to bring the community together, because that's where we came from, and we try not to forget it.
right. Yeah, same here. And we most of our recipes we've converted over to homebrew recipes. And so if you're ever out there and you're looking for something, info at Sierra Nevada. Derrick, it was an absolute pleasure to work with you. It was great to do this together. Hopefully maybe next year let's do it all over again. I
would love that.
don't see
Yeah.
why not. And remember, Walking with Darkness, 375 ml bottles will be available on August 6th at 11 o'clock. Visit our store and go visit Moksa if you haven't been there. It's an awesome brewery. They do just great beers. Derrick, awesome talking to you, and especially working with you, learning from you.
That means a lot.
You're you do it right.
Thank you. Yeah, and for the people out there, just follow us on social media. That's where all of our information is, and our Taproom draft list and to go offerings are updated live on our website and social media. So if you plan on coming over, come prepared, I guess. But thank you,
Okay.
Terrence. I mean, this has been
Hey,
great.
When I get back there, when I come back down, the fried chicken's on me this time.
Oh
Right?
yeah, that
Okay.
stuff is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. Thanks,
All right.
everybody. Peace out. Take
Thank
care.
you.